Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new release from nVidia, and there's not been quite so much hype around this launch that I was expecting, but it's a new GTX 560, yeah, another one. So this is the third one in the range, and it starts off with the GTX 560 normal one. Then we've got the GTX 560 Titanium, or Ti, whatever you want to call it. And then we've got this one, which is technically the GTX 560 448. And it is fairly confusing because basically what they've done is the original 560 and the 560 Ti were based on the GF114 core. And then the 570 and the 580 were based on the GF110. But what they've done with the 560 448 is they've taken one of the GF110s, so 570 580 core, and then they've they've kind of restricted it to 448 cores, hence the 448 name. And I'll just run through it with you so that you know. The GTX 560, based on the GF114, has got 336 cores, right? And that comes with, out the box, sort of reference clock is 810 megahertz on the core. The 560 Ti has got 384 cores with an 822 megahertz core or core clock. And basically what I mean by 384 and 336 cores is basically the shaders. That's the easiest way to kind of explain it. And then you go up to the 560 448. That's based on the GF110 core. It's got 448 shaders and it comes with a stock clock of 732 megahertz. Now a lot of you will instantly be going, oh yeah, but the 560 Ti has got higher megahertz. That's not really the way to look at it, because it's all to do with, you know, kind of architecture differences and everything else that's going on with the card. And although, you know, the core clock obviously does make a big amount of difference, there's a lot of other factors that you've got to kind of get into as well. A GTX 560 at 900 on the core is obviously going to run slower than a GTX 580 with 900 on the core as well, so it's not all about that megahertz. Anyway, going back to it, the GTX 570, it's got 480 cores or shaders, however you want to put it. It's again based on the GF110, and that comes with a 732 megahertz core clock as well. So the 448 does share the same core clock with the 570, but it's obviously got 32 less of those shader cores. So I know that's kind of difficult for you to come across in a video with me just reading it out to you and stuff like that, but I just wanted to give you some of the background behind it. Also, the Gigabyte one, or the 560 448, is coming with 1280 megabytes of RAM as well, which is the same as the 570. Now I was quite excited by this because, to be perfectly honest with you, the 570 is the point. A lot of people say to me, oh, I've got about £200 to spend on a graphics card, and I've always said, try and find that extra 40-50 quid and get yourself a 570, because it's quite a big jump. So what nVidia have done is kind of placed this one kind of in the middle, and they have done this because of, obviously we've got Battlefield 3 out now, the new Batman Arkham City is out. Both of those videos, I'm going to have other videos going live on the channel. Obviously I've got to upload everything one after another, but I am going to have dedicated gameplay videos of those games. So make sure you go and check those out. But right, the thing that we should be doing now, although the card is behind me, we need to break off now, go and take a good look at the card, and then we'll run through all the benchmarks and obviously end up with the conclusion at the end. Right then peeps, an up close look at the Gigabyte GTX 560 448. Now you can see it's got, if you have a look carefully here, you can see this is where the PCB ends and the card actually hangs out this much further. Another thing really to take notice of is that this section of the cooler with the heat pipe there we go. It is under the third fan, but it's not. The only way it's attached is via the heat pipe, because this large area here, if I bring the camera in, there you go, you can see, if you see that copper part, that's actually the vapour chamber. And then there is a break in the heatsink just about here, and then the fins in this part are just over this area. Now this end, this fan really is cooling the power regs anyway. And there is another heat pipe there. You can actually see the break easier there. But yeah, it's a fairly big heatsink. Anyway, we have a look. You can see that you've got a HDMI, full-size DisplayPort, and a pair of DVIs. Obviously 3 fans on there because it's the wind force design. Sadly, blue PCB, no backplate either, but then again it is one of the lower cards. Power is 2 times 6 pins. But then again the normal 560 and the 570 was 2 6-pins anyway. But talking of the 560 and the 570, if I put this down, I may have to redo the camera. But that's a 560 underneath, and then there's a 570 I'm just about to put on the top, just so that you can get a gauge for size. Now what you need to remember is, right, I'll stop moving the tripod. What you need to remember is that the 560's here, and obviously that's the end of the PCB for the 560. So you've probably got another centimetre or so added on to the end of this one. But the 570 is the same again, bigger. It's the only reason why the Gigabyte looks larger is because of the long heatsink on it. But anyway, that's our aesthetics and our actual up close look. There is no retail packaging for this. Gigabyte just sent it to me as literally a card in an anti-static bag, so I've got nothing like that to be able to show you. So it must be time now for us to be moving on and having a look at some benchmarks. Right then guys, on to the 3D marks. Both of these are obviously P scores. First of all, Vantage. One thing I will say with Vantage is the CPU score is a lot lower because we're on an updated version of Vantage now, which does put all the physics onto the CPU. So the CPU score is a lot lower, and that in turn obviously makes the end score a lot lower as well. But we got a P score of 21,936 on 3D Mark Vantage. And then 3D Mark 11, we got a P score of 5,598. Now, yeah, these are. I think we'll talk about all the scores and stuff at the end, rather than me going into it now. But we'll now go straight on with Extreme. Right then, guys, on to the X scores. We've got 10,940 on 3D Mark Vantage. And then X score on 3D Mark 11 of 1,745. We're just blasting through these so that the review's not 20 hours long, as they have been getting that way lately. But what we're going to do now is crack straight on with a Unigine run. Right then, peeps, on to heaven. This is just quite simply open and run. So we've made no changes. You can see the settings there. You can also see the hardware. But frames per second, the average was 54.6 with a total score of 1,376. Minimum frames per second was 24. Maximum frames per second was 121.5. So yeah, what shall we do next? I think we should try and throw some gameplay in, shouldn't we? Right then, peeps, on to some Alien vs Predator.
What the hell's going on? Shit. Wake up, people! People! Wake up, for Christ's sake! What is? Wake up! What is? Shit! It's no good! Ah! Oh, God! Ah! Shoot them! You shoot them! Take the others! Come on! Wake up! We're all dead! Come on! Help! Artyom, take my shotgun! Here! Help! Come on! Help me, Artyom! Conserve the ammo, Artyom! Conserve the ammo! Help! We're almost at the roadblock! Just a minute left, come on! Wait, the roadblock! But the roadblock! We're there! Oi, God! Oi, boy!
Right then guys, you've made it to the end. Well, almost, because it's time for the conclusion. As ever, I'm going to tell you the award and then I'm going to explain why afterwards. And what we're going to do is give it the OC3D Silver Award. Right, and the explanation is going to be quite complex because obviously the Gigabyte is the first one that I've done, so I need to explain a lot more about what's going on in the background and stuff. At the original WebEx, or kind of like online meeting kind of thing, and where nVidia spoke to us about the 448 and everything that was going on, one of the questions that come up was, is this just a way of them getting rid of a load of GF110 cores before any newer cores are released next year? And the answer was no. I would personally go with, this is probably speed binning, to be perfectly honest with you. They've probably been binning off 570, 110 cores that have not necessarily cut the mustard. And easiest way to explain it is, what they do is, you'd be amazed how little that they make different. Like they'll have, like, say, I don't know the exact numbers with nVidia, but they'll probably make 3, maybe 4 different types of GPU basically, and obviously they come from a big wafer when they're made. And basically what they do is they speed bin them, and all the good ones will obviously end up being 580s, and then ones that something's not quite right on it, or it doesn't like the core speed going up higher, becomes a 570, and it works downwards from that. Now what I would probably say is, the cores that are in the 560/448 probably didn't cut the mustard or make the grade for a fully fledged 570. So essentially what they've done, whether it was clock speed, or whether it was that some of the shaders weren't necessarily working properly, all nVidia have done is fused them off. So you've then got 448 cores rather than 480 with the 570, for example. Now a lot of you might be thinking, oh, that's bad, I'm getting a substandard processor, but you're not really, because it's doing the job that it was intended for. But another good thing, what you've got to bear in mind, is if they're just making a few of these and they bin them off, this is how they keep the prices down. Because a lot of people go, £500 for a graphics card, it only cost them, say for argument's sake, £100, £150 to make. And that's that's a very narrow-minded way of looking at it, because you've got to think about all the research and development, the fact that you're constantly getting driver updates, all the things that nVidia sponsor with games to make sure that the games all work with their cards and everything like that. There's billions of pounds that get spent in the background that you guys aren't necessarily thinking about. So by doing this, they effectively are making another product which will appeal to a lot of different people, which helps keep the price down. Obviously, it's all about them making money as well, which in this day and age, you can't say to a company, you know, it's bad that you want to make money, because if they don't make money, you're never going to get that next big graphics card, because of the money they make on this, they obviously should be and are investing in newer technologies. Something that I did find a bit confusing with the 560-448 though is the name, in the fact that there's now 3 560s. You've got the 560, the 560 Ti, and then the 560-448. I mean, why they couldn't have just had a 560 and then, for example, the Ti, fair enough, but like top or ultimate or something like that. I honestly feel that the 448 probably should have just been called the 565. Mainly for the naming, so that you know where it sits easier, but also because that's exactly where it sits. It sits smack bang in the middle in every way between the 560 Ti and the 570. And that's performance, frames per second, everything. It literally is so in the middle, it's unreal. It quite literally is almost as if nVidia have gone, right, we want something a little bit better than the 560, not quite as good as the 570, because we still would like to sell a few of these things. And it's like it's been engineered to sit absolutely smack bang in the middle. And it does, in just every possible way. Now, at the time of making this video, I've still not received any prices from nVidia or the retailers yet, but I would like to see this come in around the kind of £200, £210 mark. Because you can get 570s out there now for about £240, £250, sometimes less if you shop around with some of the shops that do, you know, markdown prices and stuff like that. Now, if you are in the market for a brand new graphics card, and I mean you've got an old one, you need an upgrade, say for instance you're rocking something old, then I would honestly say that the 560-448 would be a very good investment. Make sure you get one with an aftermarket cooler or something on it, because they do overclock quite well. Overclock it and it'll be blistering. You can overclock it and it'll kind of be snapping at the heels of the 570, and it'll do really, really well. But if you've already got a 560 and you're saying to yourself, should I get a 560-448? I honestly wouldn't say so, no. I would honestly, again, just overclock your card and live with it, because there's so little in it between those two, it's unbelievable. But like I said, the 560-448, if it goes over that kind of price threshold, I would then be telling you to maybe not consider it so much and push on to the 570. So I know this isn't necessarily all about the Gigabyte card, but obviously as this is the first review that I've done, I wanted to cover all the bases with the 448 as a whole before I go and specify onto the Gigabyte. Now, Gigabyte, we'll move on to the specifics about this card. Again, overclocked really well, couldn't really get this one much above 800 megahertz, and to be perfectly honest with you, it was shaky at 800 megahertz as well, to the point where it was freezing games sometimes. We got the benchmarks out, it wasn't necessarily 100% stable. The WindForce cooler, really like the look of it. I always have done with these, but it's compared to the 560 and the 570 reference cards, it is louder. It's not significantly louder, it's not annoyingly louder, but from a reviewer's point of view, when I'm sat by the side of it, I would know that I was sat by the side of the Gigabyte, one of them rather than one of the reference cards. Now, something else to bear in mind is there isn't going to be a reference 448. All of the release manufacturers that are going to be doing these are going to be releasing their own versions, and it's also worth noting that this is going to be a limited edition as well. They're not going to be making these for months and months and months and months. They're going to have a 2 or 3 month window, I think it is, and then they're going to knock it on the head. And it's pretty much just to coincide with the Battlefield 3 release, the fact that Batman has also now been released as well, which we all know that nVidia's got a massive hand in with, whether it's funding or development and stuff for that game, because obviously the Arkham City and even the older Batman had massive amounts of physics in it with all the steam and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they've obviously brought it out to kind of do that. And like I said, go and look for the Battlefield 3 and the Batman dedicated game videos, because I have done them for you. So long and short of it is, Gigabyte is a really nice card. there's a lot of you that aren't going to like the blue PCB, but then again, there's going to be an equal amount of you out there that don't necessarily look inside your PC that much, don't really care, and are just going to want it to work. The Gigabyte brand has obviously got, they're good with warranty and stuff. I can honestly say I've never had a graphics card of theirs go wrong. I've had DHL drive over one in the past and arrive it to me flat, but I've never had a Gigabyte card go wrong, and I have done some evil things with them in the past as well. So it's a very good card. Silver award. That's a silver award for the Gigabyte card and kind of the 560 448 as kind of a whole with this one. Just remember that if you've got a really tight case, then you're going to struggle. It only just hangs about over the end of your motherboard. Now looking at this, if you've got a normal ATX motherboard, I'd say 20 millimeters off the end of where the outside screw goes in on your motherboard. It's about 20 mil off the end of that. That's about the length of it. So that's a good way for you just to stick your head in, have a look and see if it will fit in your case. But one thing I will say about the Gigabyte is the fans. The fans on them are pretty much consistent. They never seem to slow down, but at the same time, even when overclocked, they never seem to speed up either, which was something I was quite impressed with. So we're going to wrap this baby up. I need to get it rendered. I need to get it pretty much uploaded now as well. But for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you with the Gigabyte GTX 560 448. Yes, I did nearly forget it then. Out.